Hi everyone, hello Mr. Gio. Today I'm going to talk about of adjectives, comparatives, and superlatives. Let's start with its adjective structure. Adjectives are invariable words. It is important to remember that some words may act as adjectives even if they are not, such as past participles, gerunds, and nouns. Adjectives always go before the nouns they follow a specific order: quantity, quality, size, age, type, color, property, origin, material, and purpose. Let's continue with its adjective functions. An adjective is a part of a speech which describes, identifies, or quantifies a noun. By and art, the main function of an adjective is to modify a noun or a pronoun so that it will become more specific and interesting. Another function is adjectives can also act as a complement with a linking verb or the verb to be. A linking verb is a verb like to feel, to seem, or to taste that describe a state of being or a sensory experience. When it is used this way, it is called a predicate adjective. Let's look at some examples. The first example, the silence after the joke was slightly awkward. Another, he has a very contagious laugh, like a happy virus. That cloud looks suspiciously like a giant broccoli. The neighbor's cat is ridiculously fluffy. Let's continue with its comparatives structure. For adjectives that are just one syllable, add er to the end and they use then. For two-syllable adjectives not ending in y, and for all three or more syllable adjectives use the form more or less plus adjective and then use then. And for two-syllable adjectives ending in y, change the y to I and er and use then. Now let's start with its functions. The first function is one way to describe nouns, for example, people, objects, animals. Another is by comparing them to something else. Another function is noted that only two nouns are involved when we use comparatives, although they may be plural, they refer to only two items. Let's look at some examples. My laziness is bigger than a mountain of pillows. Another, you are less quiet than a pot and pan concert. And my dog is more dramatic than a soap opera star. And his face turned redder than a tomato. Finally, let's look at its superlatives structure. For adjectives that are just one syllable, use the and add est to the end. And for two-syllable adjectives not ending in y, and for all three or more syllable adjectives use the with most or less plus adjective. And for two-syllable adjectives ending in y, use the and change the y to I at est. Let's continue with its superlative functions. First function is superlatives are also used to compare nouns. However, one of two noun is highlighted above or below the rest. And another function is therefore contrary to comparatives. One item is compared to all the rest. Now let's look at some examples. She is the biggest either cat I know. Another, he is the greatest dog on the block. That movie is the most boring of the year. Another example, Monday is the least favorite day for most people. And she has the largest collection of fridge magnets I've ever seen. Thank you guys. Thank you for your attention, for watching until the end. See you last week.